Hello my friends, it's Friday, welcome back. In this video we have three segments: Russian economy, then the international news, which also includes Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, United States, and we'll end with the front lines. And there's gonna be a crazy story there because Russians themselves published a video with the background blurred and everything, but they just leaked one of the most important locations of one of their most important units with that video. We'll go through that thread and it's like a investigation thriller movie. It's crazy. But let's begin with the Russian economy. And of course we gotta begin with the oil refinery bingo. Yesterday, Bashkortostan oil refinery was struck in the Solovyov city. The city is called Solovyov, it's right next to it, and it's the Bashkortostan oil refinery, 1,300 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, 800 miles from the Americans, and this refinery has the capacity to refine 10 million tons in oil products, making it massive, absolutely massive. I just want to look a photo with you how massive. Look at this area. This is a city. There are a lot of towns in Estonia that are smaller than this specific oil refinery. This entire thing here is one oil refinery. You would need a car to drive around in this oil refinery. But what exactly was destroyed? I mean, area this massive, and if you hit it with even 20 drones, you cannot destroy everything. Not possible. But you can destroy the heart of it. Ukrainians managed to hit the key ELO AVT4 distillation unit. You take out the distillation units, you pretty much stop the work of an oil refinery, you strike the heart. The issue with this for the Russians is that they cannot replace it because these distillation units are built by the Europeans. Of course, China can build them also, but it takes time. China has a line to do that. I mean, there are oil refineries all across the world waiting for these Chinese distillation units, so Russians gotta get in line now. The Western powers definitely are not going to replace them. Here you can enjoy a nice visual, a nice bonfire. Look at that. Beautiful. Now I'll give you a little bit of statistics. In Russia, wholesale gasoline sales have fallen to a 2-year low. Prices are breaking records and the shortages are worsening in the regions of Russia due to high demand among farmers and refineries shut down after Ukrainian drone attacks. So altogether, the sales of gasoline have decreased year by year, 20% in 2025. 1/5. So Russians are buying 1/5 less gasoline than last year, and the prices are about that much higher. And Ukraine has taken out about 1/5 of entire Russian oil refining capability. These numbers might not seem that big. 1/5, okay, we can deal with it. But if you go exactly into it, looking how much Russia exports finished oil products, they banned the exports, by the way. How much they move around inside the country in different regions. If you take 1/5 out of that equation, the whole system almost crashes down. And you can see that crashing down because Russian people are angry. They're making these angry videos in gasoline, in gas stations, saying how expensive gas is now. Why? What is happening? Look, there's plenty of them. There's a whole list of them. People in the gas stations filming and being baffled by why there's no gas or how is the gas so expensive. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at the price of diesel in Russia. See, 2023, 24, 25, look, it's nearing an all-time high that the diesel price has ever been in Russia. Here is the long-term chart, last 10 years. Look at that. Diesel price right now going to the moon in Russia. Why diesel is important? Because the majority of tanks and military vehicles run on diesel. All of the farming equipment runs on diesel. And civilian trucks and transport equipment runs on diesel. And trains also. Everything that is big and has to work for decades runs on diesel. And diesel prices going high, it affects almost every aspect of Russia. So in the backdrop of this information, Putin held a meeting with his ministers, and I have a 52-second segment here of Putin saying some weird stuff that in my eyes makes things only a lot worse. You know how there's a lot of SVO, special military operation veterans coming back to Russia after their service. They're alcoholics, they're drug addicts, they have a violence issue, they have an impulsiveness issue. What to do with these guys? In the backdrop of all the gasoline and diesel shortages, of the tension rising in the society. So what do we do with these extremely charged, angry, impulsive war veterans? Putin has the answer for you. I know that your ranks are being joined by veterans and combat operations. I'm sure they will make a positive contribution to the work of political parties, both locally and centrally, including the State Duma and the government. I have said many times, and I know you support this approach. We must seek out, find, and put forward people who fear nothing in service to the motherland and who have chosen to risk their health and their lives by doing so. And such people must be advanced to leadership positions. They will be our next generation. This is what we should consider. And thank you for putting forward such people. Such people who are afraid of nothing. Such people who are afraid of not using violence, who are not afraid of not killing and doing all other sorts of things, which I even cannot mention here, but anything you can imagine in your head right now, they have done. There are specifics of violence in the Russian army internally. If you Google it, you will find it. I'm not going to talk about it, but they will bring that stuff back to the society. And instead of police trying to control the situation, Putin is putting forward these people to lead the country, lead the local elections, for example, local governments. All of this raises the tension in the Russian society, the economic troubles, the SVO veterans, and in that backdrop, we have Lithuania, the Baltic brother, and they just physically disconnected from Russia. This was the last electrical connection the Baltics had to Russia, and Lithuania was like, nope, we're having none of it, physically dismantling that. Lithuania has got the last wires that connected it to Russia. The national electricity transmission operator Litgrid announced the complete dismantling of cross-border power lines that link the country to Russia's Kaliningrad region. The dismantling began in early February this year, right after the Baltic states synchronized with Europe's power grid, ending 65 years of operating in the same system with Russia and Belarus. Minsk, by the way, will be cut off soon as well. The removal of lines is scheduled for 2027. The door to Soviet past is being shut and firmly blocked. What a brilliant move. And you can see these heavy power lines here, these big ones. You see them all over the place across the world. Just cut off. Boom, it doesn't go nowhere. They are dismantling the posts, dismantling the track, everything. Estonia disconnected in February this year, 2025. Lithuania had the last connection and now that is gone. We are now physically unable to buy Russian electricity. It's just not possible because there's no connection to transfer that electricity to the Baltics. I'm so glad to see this. Why is it connected? Well, because Russia can make money to their war by selling electricity to us. So Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and the Baltics are connected to Northern and Western Europe by underwater cables. Look at that. You can see them right here. And these red circles on top of them are where these cables have been attacked by Russia, by Russia's shadow fleet. Estonia has two cables going to Finland, S-Link 1, S-Link 2. Latvia has one going to Sweden and Lithuania has one going to Sweden as well. So we have four cables connecting the Baltics to the rest of the Europe, Sweden and Finland, which are connected to the rest of the Europe, so we get electricity through that now. Russia is seeking to attack these cables because you take them out, you force the Baltics back into Russian electricity grid. So this is why they have been attacking. I mean, look at that, one by one. There's plenty, the list is big. They have been doing that, dragging their anchors of their shadow fleet tankers across the Baltic Sea floor to damage these links. Hey, don't take my word for it. This is happening 2 days ago. This is the Baltic Sea. This is one of the most active shipping lanes in the area. The red one is like super active. And you get the Russian shadow fleet tanker Rehi drifting super slow, slowing down now. Look at that. It's almost to a crawl, but while everybody else goes choo 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 tankers. Rehi, Russian shadow fleet tanker, drifting to a crawl. Almost not moving at all. What is it doing? Dragging its anchor, trying to cut the cables. You know, because it's so easy to do. It costs you nothing. You only break your anchor, but you break the cable, which means the Baltics will need electricity. Somewhere it will make our electricity a lot more expensive because now it all has to come through one or two existing cables. They're trying to cut it. Look at that, underneath our eyes. That's how easy it is for them. That ends the Russian economy segment and we'll go on to international. It's not going to be a long segment, but again, I will open up with Poland standing firm against China, Russia, and Belarus while still closing the border, keeping the border closed. Why is this such a big deal? Well, I made a mistake last video. I think I said about 90% of Chinese trade to the European Union goes through Poland, while the truth is 90% of freight trade, so rail trade to the European Union goes through Poland. They of course have maritime trade, but altogether it's about 3.7% of all EU-China trade, which Poland just shut down. So it hurts China, because as I mentioned in the previous video, it's about $25 billion annually for China. So China is really trying to push Poland to open this border, but Poland, I really love this because they are taking a hit, they're losing money because of it, but Polish government stressed that the logic of trade was being replaced by the logic of security. I love to see that because in this security of European Union right now, countries need to make a choice. Open trade or security. I love open trade. It makes money for everybody, but in this situation, you gotta choose security. We're past the open trade decades, which was 90s, 20s, 2010s. We're past that now. It's beautiful. It was beautiful. Everybody got rich, but Russia got rich and they're using that against Ukraine now. We gotta choose security now. And continuing on the Polish topic, we have discussed on this channel how to take down Russian drones without using F-35s, F-16s, the AIM-9 missiles, which cost about 1 to 1.5 million a pop. How to take them down continuously, cheaply. Ukraine is doing that, but the EU doesn't have an answer to that. Well, Poland is now deploying domestically produced 12.7 millimeter caliber 4-barrel WLKM machine gun to counter Russian drones. Why I love this? Because it uses bullets. It's simple to put it like that. It uses bullets and it has to. You can use either bullets or interceptor drones or electronic warfare. What you cannot use is AIM-9 sidewinders, which an air-to-air missiles costing 1 million a pop. You gotta use this. Let's just watch it work. I just want to demonstrate it to you. See, this is a DJI drone. And now it's fully automated, this minigun. Searches is up. Shoots it down. 12.7 millimeter, this is about 3 to 4 second burst. Still costs, what, 3,000 in bullets? You know, the money. It's incredibly cheap. And one interceptor drone in Ukraine costs about 5 to 10,000, but you're still taking them down, not with $1 million missile, but with $3,000 of bullets. This is the way to go. This is the way to do it. The issue with these systems is, not the issue, but the bottleneck is gonna be these sensors, cameras, laser rangefinders, the aiming system, the automation systems, all of that. Not the Gatling gun, the minigun itself, but all of these high-tech equipment on top of it. If you can produce them, if you can mass produce them, you put them all around the cities, you're safe from Shahed drones. And I'll end the international segment of this video with my country, Estonia. Whenever I see news like that about Estonia, I get proud that my country has the balls to do this stuff. Estonia now is to sell abandoned cars left at Russian border. Starting in October, Estonian authorities will begin auctioning off vehicles abandoned near the Russian border. If a car isn't retrieved within 2 or 3 months, it will be put up for sale with the proceeds going into the state budget. Russians go across the border, they will leave their car on the border, they will come back in like 4 to 5 months. They're like, my car is here, let's go back. That's all about to change. If they leave their car, we will sell it. We will sell that Russian car or a Russian-owned car, because Russian cars are now not allowed. Russian plates are not allowed in Estonia. We will sell that Russian-owned car, bought in Estonia or somewhere, and we will take that money for us. I love to see that. I love to do that, and I'm glad my government's doing that. All right, my friends, now we get to the front lines, and here I have a true thriller action movie for you. I mean, this is great. The video is gonna end with it. It's a really long thread, so I'll keep it for the end. Everything else I'll show you before. We begin with videos. I will try to keep them fast. This is a Russian soldier, a meat, undesirable, however you want to call it. This one was sent without any gear, any ammunition, to strike, to charge, meat assault. He was sharing a story, he had to collect a helmet from a dead comrade. You go across the field, you found guys from 3 months ago who made the same charge. You find a helmet from another guy, he found a vest. It's very much, I was a kid when I saw the movie, but it's very much like Enemy at the Gates. I mean, Stalingrad. Every other gets the bullet, every other gets the weapon. You pick up the rifle or the bullets from the guy in front of you if he gets shot. It is exactly like that. Only the guy in front of you got shot 3 months ago. The body is, decomposing. You take the helmet off that head, you're gonna pick out the skin and everything. It's very bad. And now the guy has a vest and a helmet and is free to go turn into sunflowers somewhere. In this video, a fresh batch of Kamaz 65221 tractor trucks equipped with an electronic warfare unit systems were spotted, and they're all on trains. The trains are moving, look at that. Each Kamaz truck, brand new, green and everything, the windows even shut with the boards, has an electronic warfare mounted on top from the factory. And each of these little bumps here is a different frequency jammer. I know about this stuff because we used to give them to the Ukrainian army. You donated for this stuff. Each of these bumps is one certain frequency. So these trucks jam a wide variety of frequencies. See, a jammer that hops on frequencies, you can do that. A jammer that jams every frequency, you can definitely do that, but it's very expensive and much more difficult to mass produce. It's easier to produce jammers that jam fixed frequencies and just to mass them on top of each other so they all jam this certain fixed frequency. This is what this dome here is for. Ukrainians, of course, like the Russians, use frequency hopping on all their drones, meaning if they discover that a certain frequency is jammed, they will hop onto another and yada yada. It continues until they found one that isn't jammed. Well, the point is, nothing from the Ukrainians and from the Russians comes out of the military factory without this jammer now. Ukrainians and Russians using both very similar technology here. These domes are on all new Ukrainian vehicles and all new Russian vehicles. Sometimes I even see them on these Chinese golf carts. This jammer here costs about 10 to 15K minimum. This golf cart costs about $2,000. So this jammer is worth more than 3-4 golf carts, 7 golf carts even, while the golf cart itself is worth nothing. These jammers are lifesavers, although they're not miracle weapons. The drones still get through, but they lessen the amount of drone casualties. I'm showing you this just to illustrate that both sides are actively using fixed frequency jammers on almost everything that moves, but it doesn't render the drones useless. I mean, you have fiber optic drones, you have frequency hopping, you have always these frequencies which are not jammed, these very narrow ones, which both sides are then using. So it's a cat and mouse game all the time, everywhere. It's crazy. Talking about drones, though, here is a different drone. It's a Ukrainian UGV, unmanned ground vehicle, carrying some logs. So why is this good? Well, as I said, jammers reduce drone casualties, but they don't eliminate them completely. Well, dugouts reinforced with wood reduce artillery shell casualties, but they don't eliminate them completely. So you want to reduce them, you want to keep your soldiers alive. You gotta reinforce every dugout you dig with logs. And logs are heavy, they're bulky, they're difficult to transport, trucks will be destroyed. Easiest way, the most innovative way, unfortunately also expensive way, are these UGVs. And they carry these logs, humans could not carry them, trucks can, trucks will be destroyed. So this is a good way to do that. If you don't reinforce your dugout, you're much more likely to get shrapnel from a shell. That's how it is. And now, my friends, you would not believe this. I mean, it's not the big story at the end of the video yet, but still. You know how before Operation Barbarossa in World War II, when the Third Reich attacked the Soviets and Germans made the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which meant also, among other things, that tons of Soviet metal trains, iron trains, weaponry, everything was flowing into Germany. I mean, Germans were buying Soviet raw materials, Soviet oil, also Soviet artillery shells and fuses by the hundreds of thousands. And this happened for a few years, like trains non-stop going from the Soviet Union to Germany in 1939, even the beginning of 1940. Going. They fueled the German army. One of the things they sent were artillery shells, artillery fuses. This specific artillery fuse was found from the Russians by the Ukrainians. And look what it says. WE Wehrmacht 1934. So it's made in 1934. It has a swastika on it and an eagle. So this is actively used artillery fuse being used actively right now by the Russian army, which is made, and the fuse is made in Germany in 1934. Russians are claiming internally for the internal propaganda that they are fighting the Nazis and the fascists while using artillery fuses bought from the Nazis, because Nazis sold them to the Soviet Union also, by using them right now. Do you see the disconnect of information here? It is insane how people tend to forget this, that Soviet Union and Germany were allies, the closest allies at the beginning of 1940. January, February, March. They were the closest allies in the European continent. They were two dictatorships against the world back then. So yeah, Soviet Union bought a lot of these. I mean, Germans bought a lot of Soviet stuff, Soviets bought a lot of German stuff. And here we have an artillery fuse gotten from the Nazis, used in the Russian army right now. This is insane. For me, it's like this insane piece of history. Alright, my friends. Frontlines, Kupyansk, northern eastern Ukraine. And this will be a long topic. Here you can see Russian troops forming a salient into Kupyansk, this organized area. This settlement here is Kupyansk. And Ukrainians are pulling back slowly, trading territory for Russian losses. Russians have claimed a long time ago that they have surrounded Kupyansk. That is wrong, but they are advancing. These lines you can see right here are attacks yesterday and the day before that. For example, the X in the middle right here, this woods, Ukrainians pulled out of it. Russians immediately advanced into the wood lines. Then Ukrainians pushed up their Baba Yaga, eliminated some infantry, Russians pulled back, and now it's a gray zone. Below that, again, wood lines right here, Ukrainians pulled out, Russians sent in troops immediately, drones struck the troops, Russians pulled back, again in the gray zone. In the top, we see a long blue arrow here. What this means, this is a lone Ukrainian tank, I kid you not. It made so far, look at that, across that field, across the road, across the wood, across the urbanized area of Kindreshivka. And it was spotted here where the X is on that field, very close to the active Russian positions. It took about 10 FPV drone hits. I mean, I don't know which kind of a tank it was. It took 10 hits and then limped back. I mean, the crew didn't abandon the tank. They somehow got it back. It was in horrible condition, but the crew survived. The tank made it back. But here is where the battle happened. So this is what's happening around Kupyansk. Since Russians are really pushing in Kupyansk, Ukrainians are deploying the 3rd Assault Brigade into Kupyansk area right now. And what the Russians are doing against that, since 3rd Assault is like an elite of the elite, they are really good at what they do. AKA, I mean, their specifics are fighting out of a really difficult situation and pushing the Russians back. So Russians, for the answer of that 3rd Assault Brigade, which is deployed, are sending Rubicon drone unit. Rubicon is a very secretive Russian drone unit. They were commissioned by Andrei Belousov, you know, the finance minister, now a defense minister at the beginning of this year. And now they are very effective. You could compare them with Magyar birds in Ukraine. Ukrainians know how effective they are. Everybody's been wondering how they train, where they train, what they are. Ukrainians know their reputation. Russians know their reputation. Rubicon is causing major problems across the 1,100-kilometer front line, and Ukraine is struggling to find ways to counter it. Rubicon is being deployed into Kupyansk. 3rd Assault Brigade is being deployed into Kupyansk. Well, all of that now brings us to this great news I've been talking about. This great thread. It's gonna take some time. Get your coffee, get your tea, get your whiskey and popcorn and get ready. You know, Russian propagandist Solovyov. He went to a certain area, to a certain drone center, made a propaganda video there. They walked around, they had fun, they blurred everything. So nobody would understand nothing, just to see that there is a specific drone area, a drone draining ground. This here is Solovyov and surrounded by some guys. I'll go through this video fast. So you cannot really know where this location is since we're inside of a big building and stuff is blurred. What we can see on this low quality video, legs walking around, some faces, some Chinese golf carts. These are the carts I was talking about before. Some of these come with jammers, although the carts itself cost like $2,000-$3,000. Again, blurred backgrounds, nothing here. Kamaz trucks, they were loaf trucks. Baba Yaga drones, Russian ones, of course. But now, give it time. Big drones, trolleys. Whoa, some doors. Some doors. What about these doors? Remember these doors, my friends. Remember this pillar. Only a few seconds, a few doors. One of them is a toilet. All right, let's go. I'm gonna read you the entire thread. Are you ready? We're gonna go into a rabbit hole, and it's quite a bad of a leak for Russians. Have you ever wanted to know where the infamous Russian Rubicon drone center is based? The very same Rubicon drone unit that is sent into Kupyansk now. And who commands it? Thanks to my colleagues Pustota and Legal Love, and open sources, including Russian Tsar propagandist Vladimir Solovyov, we now know. By the way, Solovyov, Russian propagandist, himself published this video, thinking that everything was blurred, but it wasn't. First of all, Rubicon is not technically a military unit. It isn't associated with has no publicly known registered entity, and its head name has never been disclosed. Luckily, I found 2 letters of gratitude that Rubicon sent to Bratskoye Serce, Brotherly Heart charity, which is run by former members of the FSB and SVR. In them, you can see the surname and initials of Rubicon's commander, SV Putnikov. In February 2025, Russian propagandist Vladimir Solovyov published a documentary about the Rubicon in which he visited its training center. It was aired on Russian state TV. He is accompanied by Russian Deputy of Ministry of Defense Sergei Krivoruchko, senior military defense official Yevgeny Shmirin, and an unknown man, thought to be Shmirin, though Shmirin is also not named. All other faces in the video are blurred. Shmirin is the head of the Russian Ministry of Defense Directorate for Advanced Inter-Service Research and Special Projects, a branch of the ministry responsible for developing weapons of future. Wow! Some Wunderwaffe lore here. A guy from Shmirin's department was among the senior Russian missile specialists who visited Iran in April and September 2024. Shmirin himself visited Iran in October 23, attending a meeting with the Iranian Minister of Defense Mohammad Reza Karai Ashhitiani. We'll get back to Shmirin later. Remember this name. His presence in the video means a lot. Finally, with the help of Pustota, we found a family photo of the fourth guy in the video, an unknown man. On VKontakte. And yes, he appeared to be Sergei Viktorovich Pudnikov, head of the Rubicon Center. I love how the spider web opens up. Pudnikov is 37 years old. Most of his service was with the 9th Guards Artillery Brigade, at least from 2011 to 2019. That's probably where he got his Guards colonel rank from the above-mentioned letter of gratitude. In 2019, Pudnikov was the chief of staff of the 9th Brigade at their headquarters in Luga, Leningrad Oblast. In 2015, his brigade was spotted near Mariupol, heavily shelling the city. Before that, Pudnikov also served in the 61st Separate Guards Naval Infantry Brigade, and his wife even had an email password, Morskaya Pehota, Naval Infantry. Morskaya Pehota meaning Naval Infantry. Later, they moved back from Leningrad Oblast to Belgorod, where both were born, actually. Pudnikov is also listed in Ukrainian Mirotvorets database with at least 19 illegal crossings from Russia into occupied Donetsk Oblast of Ukraine in 2023, but of course there's nothing about his connection to Rubicon there. But what about the location of the top secret Rubicon base? Let's ask Vladimir Solovyov for help again. His crew's sloppy blurring clearly revealed a venue, a hangar in the Patriot Congress Center in the Patriot Military Park and Museum near Moscow. Look at that. Do you notice this door here with the WC? I mean, it's the restroom in Europe. And these lights. I mean, it's the same one as in Patriot Park. So easy. It's supposed to be like the top secret, best Russian drone unit, top secret location. And just like his own propagandist, Russian own propagandist publishes it. More matching details like columns with speakers and other technical equipment. This is the pillar, remember? Well, look at the speakers, they do match. It is the Patriot Park location. We also geolocated the nearby hangar where Solovyov, Krivoruchko, Shmirin and Pudnikov walk to inspect the vehicles used by Rubicon to get their crews to the front line. This may be one of the reasons why the Army 2025 exhibition, which usually takes place in all 4 exhibition halls of the Patriot Centers, was cancelled this year because of this massive leak. Wow. During the search, we went through hundreds of photos of different venues in Russia until legal law suggested that the empty Patriot could be the home of Rubicon since it had already stood unoccupied for most of the year. The rest was technical matter. We also learned which exact hall in this building Rubicon occupies. The southernmost D hall, plus part of the C hall. You can see from this image, taken in April 2024, that sometimes exhibitions in Patriot Center run right next to Rubicon. Check this out. This is the same wall seen in the Solovyov video, which is in the C and D hall. So it wasn't one-time show-off for TV. A video by Rubicon itself, published 6 months later on the 1st of August, and its recruiting ads also featured other clips filmed in the same hangar, but not featured in Solovyov's video. So Rubicon itself has published videos from this hangar doing very sloppy blurring so you can make out details in the back. And they even get more detailed. We even learned when Rubicon settled in the Patriot Center. There is a calendar on the Patriot website with all activities listed for 24 and 23 and earlier. Since September 23, there has been a permanent daily entry called Scientific and Practical Classes of UPMLISP. Okay, the rabbit hole goes deeper. I will leave it, otherwise we go crazy here, but it goes to the needle pinpoint. Well, Solovyov, the top propagandist in Russia, decided to publish a video of him strolling around the top secret drone unit, drone center, but the bad blurring revealed everything. With this rabbit hole, I will segue into Buy Me a Coffee monthly members, my friends. But before, we have the best comment from last video, and I will read that because I'll do that in every video now. I think it's a nice thing to include your best comments. Last time I was talking about how Russians have to lessen the oil production because, the fuel silos blown up and pipelines blown up. Well, somebody actually commented why it's so difficult to restart the oil production once you lessen it in the tundra. The last time they shut in Russians' wells on the tundra, it took them 30 years to reopen all of them. Shutting in wells above the Arctic Circle is a recipe for disaster. The wells have to be basically re-drilled. It will take decades to reopen them if they are shut in. It looks like a large portion of them will necessarily be shut in as the pipelines and refineries are getting in a shape where they can't transport and refine the well production. And it's said by Botko 1948. Thank you for the comment. It's really good. It clears up a lot of stuff for me. And now we only have 2 new Buy Me a Coffee monthly members, but I'll still butcher their names with pride. Antanas Kazokas. Ville Karaila. Ville Karaila, probably Finnish. Kiitos. Thank you, my friends, for watching. Be back on Monday, because I'll be back on Monday. I'll bring you all these same segments on Monday. Subscribe. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.